This is not going on Facebook. Well, you know how old I am.
Do you want it to go on Facebook if you pass?
If I'm dead, yeah, sure,
Okay.
why not?
All right. This is like your farewell address to the world if you don't make it through surgery.
Well, it's not only surgery. You may not make it home.
That's
driving
true.
Home in the
That's
truck.
true.
Maybe you'd be interested in knowing why I got into this, because I'm a
Yes.
divorce lawyer. I've been a litigator. I've been practicing law for 18 years.
Absolutely.
So in 2020, in the pandemic, my good friend at 78 years old passed away in June.
I'm sorry. to hear
Jed
that.
Curtis.
I'm sorry.
I've known this fellow for about 12 years. He was over 6 feet tall, over 300 pounds, big guy. When I met him, he was probably about 400 pounds. Took up like 3 seats at the, I met him in the Las Vegas Writers Group. I never thought he was long for the world. He actually lived a lot longer than I thought he would. But he was brilliant. He had like 160 IQ.
I want the world to know the fact that I'm a preposterous genius.
He was, he had a doctor's degree in biochemistry from
Wow.
from California, Berkeley. Anyway, he passed away, and his caretaker came to his home, and he didn't answer the door. So his caretaker called my brother, who had a key. My brother went over there, opened the door, and they go in and they find big old Jed laying there, stone cold dead in the room, in his entertainment room. And this fellow, though he was brilliant and had a sordid life and a colorful life and everything, probably didn't have a ton of assets. So when someone dies, the first thing that probably happens is 911 is called, right?
Yep.
And then the 911 dispatcher probably has the police go out, and then the police determine, hey, we need a coroner to come out and determine cause of death, determine if there's foul play or whatever. Coroner comes out, determines whether, time of death, potential cause of death. Once the coroner is done, they remove the body. Then they call the public administrator's office. The public administrator goes in there, ransacks the house. They go in twos. The idea being is they're watching each other so nobody has sticky fingers. Okay?
Okay.
Right?
We send 2 investigators to every call.
Okay.
Although they're probably in different rooms and they have pockets anyway, so who knows, right? Things
Yeah.
can disappear, small jewelry, whatever. Who knows? We don't know. We're trusting them because
Yeah.
they're government employees and they get paid well. And maybe it's misplaced trust, and here's why. Now, this is a cautionary tale, a great tale for Halloween. It's a tale of death, murder. It's an ongoing tale, and it's a nationwide tale that's ongoing right now as I speak, and
Okay.
I've been involved with it.
Right.
Because I know the public administrator, I know Jed Curtis who died, and I know another victim, a victim of murder, okay? All involved in this story. And here's why I became an estate planner is because of Jed.
Okay.
It was the pandemic. His heirs are all around the world. His sons live in different parts of, one son's in Hawaii, another son is in Europe. They couldn't come here in the pandemic. And since I was his good friend, I was like his son, so to speak. I'm a little younger than his sons, but not much.
Yeah.
And so they said, hey, Anthony, can you help us? I said,
Yeah.
not a problem. I know the public administrator. He's a good friend of mine. He's a lawyer. He used to do family law too. So I called up the public administrator, said, sure, we'll help you with this, of course. And so I gave the public administrator's office the benefit of the doubt. I knew the fella, and I trusted things were getting done right.
Okay.
Okay. It took a year and a half just to get one simple form done correctly.
Wow.
Finally, only a few months ago did I finally get to pretty much close the estate with the public administrator's office. And only in recent months did I find out why this was the case. I thought, hey, they're overly burdened because of COVID, the COVID restrictions and so forth. It's also an election year. Public administrator had to run in the primary and so on, right? Well, I found out that the public administrator, my friend, was having issues at work. He had a lot of problems with his staff. He came in. They thought he was going to come in and make things better. Well, a lot of them thought he made things worse. He was running an inefficient office. He was causing lots of problems. He was moving people around that they were used to doing one job. He put them in different jobs. He was being accused of carrying on an inappropriate relationship with someone there and so on.
Wow.
And a fellow that you may know, a reporter for the Las Vegas Review-Journal since we were kids in the 1980s, Mr. Gehrman. My dad would read from the dining room table stories from the Review-Journal, the RJ, written by Jeff German. This guy took down the mafia in the 90s, wrote stories. He was an investigative journalist, right? Clark Kent, right? Anyway, he started writing stories, the RJ, about this public administrator. And it cost this public administrator his primary election.
Wow.
And then he was going to write more stories. And he wound up stabbed to death 7 times right next to his house. Right?
This
And
is
the public
recent news, yes.
and the public administrator has been in jail now. He just yesterday lost his job. There was a court hearing that said because he had his job until the beginning of next year, right?
Wow.
Until January, because then the new public administrator takes over after the general election in January. Well, he lost his job yesterday because the judge said, well, you can't perform your duties while you're sitting in jail, and you're in jail without bond because we think you're a flight risk. You already tried to commit suicide, we think. We're not letting you out. And he's like, well, but I have phone access and internet access. I can still do my duties from jail because I have those things.
So what part of his job that the state would be paying him for is he fulfilling?
Well, I would put forth that he could perform almost all of the duties of his job on the telephone and on video.
Okay.
And then the judge held up a piece of paper. Yeah, but you filed that you needed a free attorney. You need a public defender because you anticipated losing your job because of all of this.
He came into the state and said, I no longer can afford a private attorney. I want the ability to go forward and have a public defender defend me. So I want to use the benefit of this argument, this statement, that I'm no longer going to be employed by the state of Nevada. That's my basis. That's my legal representation to the state of Nevada as to why I cannot afford an attorney. And now you want to come in and say, I'm sorry, that piece of paper really doesn't have the meaning it has there. That's only if I want to use it for my benefit to burden the state with providing me with a legal defense because I no longer have any income. Now you're saying, no, Judge, he should maintain his position, maintain his employment, maintain his income. If that happens, counselor, does he not lose the right to public assistance for his criminal defense? And is that really what your client wants to force a court to make a decision on? Either he wants public defense or he wants to maintain his job and keep his income. Which one is it, counselor?
So, needless to say, he just lost his job yesterday.
Wow.
So we are currently without a public administrator
The Wild West. Welcome to
because
Vegas.
the general election isn't until November.
Yeah.
There's going to be an acting public administrator. Actually, there has been one
yeah.
now because he's been in jail. But so these are some of the folks, and I'm talking about a public administrator who's elected, right? But then probate judges
Yeah.
there could be issues there. We've had plenty of scandals and stuff over the years. Do you really want to trust overworked bureaucrats with your estate? Now, if Jed had simply done a simple estate plan, a will, he could have done a trust too, even though he didn't really own real estate, but he could have done a trust listing everything and listing one of his sons or me or somebody as a successor trustee. We could have gone in there, found out where all his assets are, find out who his creditors are. We wouldn't have had to have the public administrator's office try to go in and totally ransack the place and delay everything for a year and a half. We
Right.
wouldn't have to rely on him at all. Me or somebody else that he named could have found his document, or the public administrator could have found his documents and said, hey, you're the successor trustee, or you're the executor or executrix. Have at it.
Yeah.
He didn't do that, and he could have done it, and he
Yeah.
could have saved a ton of work. Because I had to go through after the public administrator's office ransacked his place, and he had a lot of stuff in there. I had to go in with my crew, go through all of his things, and look for anything valuable that he might have, store it, and save it. It's August 10th, 2020. What time is it, Jerry? It's 3:39 p.m. It's 3:39 p.m. We're in Unit 423. The seal is already broken. There's a lockbox. Public administrator's seal. We're off.
And the air conditioning works.
Okay, power's on. That's good. Sure glad the AC is on.
Where is he?
These doors are off. Who? Where? The cat? It's gone.
Oh, where's Jed?
Jed's in a box, son.
Huh?
He's not here.
What happened?
This is gonna be clothes. I know he had a bookshelf here somewhere close by. I've never really gone through his whole house before.
Bad.
Wow, there's a lot of stuff. Oh my gosh.
It's not so bad, too.
Oh my gosh, there's a lot of stuff.
Oh my god, this is a lot of people stuff.
Oh.
What is it?
His sons are actually going to come out at the end of the month, finally, after all this time, to see the stuff that I've collected on his behalf and
Wow.
decide what they want to take pictures, picture albums, and so forth.
Yeah.
So, it's a Halloween month. This is a scary story. It's ongoing. You have murder, you have death, and I think that estate planning prevents some of the horror and some of the terror and some of the sadness and everything. If you plan for your death, your heirs don't have to come when they're in a sad state of mind, go through all your things, try to figure out what you wanted. They don't have to do any of that. They don't have to go and hire high-priced lawyers, go to court. You have
Argue. Yeah.
you have a set of instructions right there for anybody to read. You've made it so simple. If you love your loved ones, your so-called loved one, you really love them, you're going to spend maybe $1,000, get at least something done.
I'd like to do, Jed,
Yes?
I won't post this on Facebook, but for posterity, I know you're going into surgery tomorrow.
Which is not going on Facebook.
No, none of that. I'm just doing this for my purposes and your purposes.
And what do you want me to do?
I'll just tell me if there's anything, if something goes wrong, or if there's anything you want to say to the world.
Wise up.
Wise up. Do
Oh,
I have
I
your
can tell you
permission? Do I have your permission to post this if you pass?
There is a 2% chance I'll die.
Okay, if you
Tomorrow.
pass, what would you want the world to know?
I want the world to know the fact that I'm a preposterous genius, vastly more intelligent than almost all of you. I love you all, and I tried to help. But you're so fucking miserably stupid, you humans. Who can help you?
You really want this to be your last words to the
well,
world?
It's true. That's the story of my life. But all my life, I have to hide my incredible intelligence. In fact, I was just talking to Logos, my son, for those of you who don't know, but Anthem knows, of course. He suggested I do a bunch of tests for Alzheimer's because you swear this is not going on Facebook. Well, you know how old I am.
Do you want it to go on Facebook if you pass?
If I'm dead, yeah, sure,
Okay.
why not?
All right.
I really tried to help people. I never tried to harm anybody. The main thing about me, more impressive than my intelligence, is my love. I'm really full of love, which goes back to my early days in Rishikesh when I studied with the great masters of India. Anyway, as I was telling my son, I did what he suggested, and I did a whole battery of tests, lots and lots of tests, to see if I was getting Alzheimer's, because sometimes it's hard for me to think of a word. And the last test that they did with me is basically the equivalent of an IQ test. And these are the top professionals concerning Alzheimer's in this city, anyway. Well, I think all over the country. There's a small group. Anyway, so they gave me this, what turns out to be an IQ test, and I got the highest score anybody ever scored anywhere in the history of the universe. And Logos asked me what my IQ is, and I said, well, when I first got tested long ago, they had a different system. My IQ was 230, which was the same as Einstein. But then they changed the numbering system later, and 230 was sort of equivalent to 160 or 170. And on this new test, 100 is the maximum possible, but nobody's ever scored 100 until I did when I went in there, 3 months ago, 2 months ago. And yeah, so that's proof of my IQ. Even though I've gotten old and I spent most of my life trying to hide my intelligence, it's still there. It never changes. Which applies to so many things: science, languages, love, music, of course, all the arts. And like that, man. Peace. Be good. Save your fucking planet and stop being such dorks.
Are there any material items that you want to make sure anybody gets?
Well, it would be nice. I have a collection of sacred and secular songs. There's a book of it up here.
All right.
And I would like to get those preserved, if not published, preferably published.
The ones you wrote?
Yeah, it's all original songs by me.
Okay.
Very interesting music. It's pleasantly harmonic, but also weird at the same time. A little bit like Igor Stravinsky.
What about your cat?
Well, cats live such a short time.
Who do you want to have take care of him?
Well, you obviously.
I'll take care of him. Okay.
Yeah, I think he'd be very happy in your environment for the few years remaining in his life. Oh,
What's his name?
Tom, as in Tomcat.
Tomcat.
But he was castrated long before I met him. Mm-hmm. And he used to be quite terrified of humans.
Anything else you want to say? You've got lots of books and...
Yeah, well, you can have my books, or my sons can have my books.
Nothing extremely sentimental you want to pass to anybody special, or you got instruments and
all the people
pictures? So you're just going to let your sons come and figure out who gets what?
Yeah, when I'm dead, man. I'm just rotting.
Yeah, no, this isn't for you. This is for them.
Yeah, well, so let them.
Okay.
Let them play. It's like what Alexander the Great said when they asked him, after you're dead, who gets your empire? And he said, the strongest. So
they're going to fight.
So
the three of us are going to get...
No matter what he said, they were going to fight. And, and they did fight. The one who probably was best suited to be the new emperor was 80 years old. Blind Eye, they called him sometimes. And the other was Seleucid, and the other was Ptolemy. All three of them brilliant. The old guy got killed off pretty quickly. And then the Seleucid Empire and the Ptolemaic Empire in Egypt and so forth, they fought it out for over 100 years. And the last descendant of Ptolemy was Cleopatra the Great, the one who committed suicide with the viper. Mm-hmm. So, the strongest got it. And I guess you could say eventually the Seleucids also were they got taken over by everybody. And I say I'm already degenerating into history. Why do I study history? Because one period of history that we're living through is too boring. I want them all. I want all the periods of history.
So this procedure or surgery or whatever it is, what is it like?
Coronary bypass.
Coronary bypass. And they said it's a 2% chance of
that
failing?
I will die.
So they're pretty confident it's...
Oh yeah, they have statistics on all. I mean, they're confident that I will live.
Yes.
Well, no, it's just for this particular procedure. I'm, thousands of people or more have had this procedure, so it's not that big a deal. And Logos explained it to me. It was wonderful. having Lois talking on the Skype to the surgeon who's going to do me tomorrow.
Are you going to sign a DNR or anything like that?
What?
A DNR?
What's DNR?
Do not resuscitate if they.
No, but you can tell them. You tell them. I hereby. You can show them this screen. I hereby authorize you as my attorney, and you can go in there and kick legal ass and.
Well, what do you want to have happen?
What I really want is if I'm dead. Well, if I'm dead or almost
Well,
dead.
that's the problem. The DNR.
If I'm brain dead, yeah, let me die.
Okay.
And what I really
If there's some chance though that you might be in a coma, but you'll come out of it.
Ask Logos, he's a doctor. He knows what the real.
So you want
is.
Logos to make the ultimate
Yeah,
decision
he
for
can,
you.
or you can make a decision.
I can't make. You'd have to put it in writing, but your son probably, as a doctor,
for me, and I'll do it. I'll sign it.
a DNR.
What I would really like, and I've told my sons this, when I'm dead, is assuming I die before they do, to have my corpse just put out in nature, anywhere in nature, in the remote plains of North Dakota, and let the big animals and the tiny animals eat me. Return to nature. That's the way we Indians did it, you know.
The only thing I've heard of where that's similar to that, because I don't think they'll let bodies just lay out in the open, is to plant you inside a tree root ball.
Right.
That might be the closest thing that they could do.
Or I've also told people, throw me on the back of any kind of a boat, go out beyond the, what is it, the 8 mile limit, whatever the limit is.
Feed you to the sharks.
Yeah, feed me to the shark. Well, they're probably not sharks there, but just throw me in water. Somebody will eat me. I think it's obscene that people spend fortunes. I mean, really huge amounts of money to put formaldehyde in the blood. Mm-hmm. So theoretically, you don't rot. All that happens is instead of rotting in a couple of days, you rot in a couple of years or months or whatever. It's not preserving you at all. It's just spending a lot of money for nothing, and then putting you in a box thinking that you'll be preserved, which is silly.
Well, Jed, I hope you're here for many more years, and you're doing this procedure at the recommendation of your doctor?
Yes, both the cardiologists both say it's necessary.
And after plan to do some other stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, I want to be as healthy as possible, as long as possible.
Right.
That's something actually Niall wrote to me. He said he was quoting me, and supposedly I said, "I'm not afraid of death. I'm afraid of pain in the process of dying, especially if I'm tortured to death or something. And I'm kind of afraid, if that's the word, of being stuck, unable to drive a car for 4 weeks or 6 weeks.
I think most of us aren't afraid of our own death, but we fear losing others.
Oh no, a lot of people are afraid of their own death. Are you afraid of your death?
No, I have the same philosophy as you, but I wouldn't want my loved ones to suffer from it, you know?
Yeah, well, I don't know if they're going to suffer anyway.
They mental anguish.
Life goes on. I mean, people will
eventually, yeah, but they're gonna grieve for a while.
Well, the thing is, I'm actually very active. I have a lot of wonderful things to do. I'm writing, I'm making movies, I'm playing music.
You could live another 20, 30 years for all you know.
At least. More. If I survive all this shit, and the world doesn't blow itself up in another world war, yeah, I would like to live well beyond 100. Mainly because of all the incredible technological advances that are coming at an incredible speed. It just goes faster and faster and faster. Every year, not only are we advancing technologically, but the speed of advancing is advancing. Right?
Well, I hope so, because we have to figure out how to prevent ourselves from destroying ourselves, too. And that's also
I don't
advancing.
think technology is going to prevent us from destroying ourselves. It just has an opposite effect. You have to not allow shitheads to be in charge of things, and that's what we have now. We have people with no wisdom at all, no perspective, and well, I'm going to be dead about it. I'll go ahead and say something. Of the well-known world leaders today, I think there's only one who is halfway sane. The rest are complete nerds and idiots. It's Putin. Putin is a fairly reasonable guy who just wants to survive and have a good life for himself and the people, his people. The Russian. And he's not afraid to be Russian or to be xenophobic and love his... It's not like he hates other races. Did you know the Russians now are saying that that the whole 1917 revolution with Lenin and then later Stalin was all evil horseshit, and they even now want to bring back the Russian royal family and give them a couple of palaces to live in, one in St. Petersburg and one in Crimea.
Somebody told me something wise the other day. It wasn't you. I don't think you're the one that said it, though. You know the saying, those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it?
Yes, and those of us who do know history are doomed to sit here helplessly watching the idiots.
Well, maybe it was you that told me that the other day.
Maybe.
Maybe that was you. Yes, those of us that
After
are...
you have all the touch of Alzheimer's.
Well, somebody on the phone said it, and I don't remember if it was you or someone else, but that actually is true.
What, that you're doomed to repeat it?
Or watch others repeat it.
Or if you know history. Well, that's kind of what's happened with me. So many things that people think are new that are happening now, like all this transgender stuff. And I can't think of it off the top of my head. There's so many things which are supposedly brand new. They're not new at all. They've been happening all my life. It was just they used to be rarer.
Yeah.
And they're just becoming more and more common. You know, that's the way social changes happen. They start off with the edge of the wedge, things that are very rare, and just a couple of weirdos.
What's interesting is the percentage may not have changed. It's just the population as a whole got bigger, so the percentage may be the same, but there's just more.
For transgender people?
For any population,
any new,
right? Anything.
No,
yeah.
I think the percentages do change.
It could be, or it could be that there's just more of them because there's more people.
Okay, name this tune. That's right. Dick Wagner's Tristan and Isolde, otherwise known as Richard Wagner.
I don't know it, but it sounded good.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful. I'll play it on string.
Here, shall I? Let me hold on. Let me create another video of you playing, separate from this.
Okay.
Okay. All right. This is you saying goodbye to the world.
Well, it's a song written by one of my favorite pimps, Dick Wagner, otherwise known as Richard Wagner, and it's called Tristan and Isolde. And
Okay.
it goes something like this.
You know what? I'm gonna stop this video and record you doing that one.
Doing what?
That song.
Yeah. Well, I give you an introduction.
Okay, 1 second. I'm gonna stop this
Can
one.
Can I give you the introduction again?
Yeah, when I record for the song. This is you. I want you to say goodbye on this one.
This is public.
No, I'm still recording the prior one. We're at 16 minutes now. This is like your farewell address to the world if you don't make it through surgery.
Well, it's not only surgery. You may not make it home.
That's
driving
true.
home in the
That's
truck.
true.